Stagey Live. I'm your host, David Muscat, and London is turning on an absolute treat. Have a look at today's guests.
Acclaimed stage actor Kobna Holdbrook-Smith, agent to the stars Hugo Harrison, and a lovely West End lady, TIffany Gray. And don't forget our Stagey Challenge, hosted by Simon Ray Harvey and Molly Roberts. Time for the first interview.
I don't know if you can see, but we're at the National Wall. And joining me today is Kobna Holdbrook-Smith.
Kobna Holdbrook-Smith.
What took you to the decision of wanting to be in it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because when I was about 15, I think if I'm completely honest, what I wanted then was to be famous. If I'm really honest, I wanted to be a famous actor.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was about 18 and I'd been to training, like I didn't go to youth groups, or I did one school play and it was a total train wreck, total train wreck.
What did you do in the school play?
It was The Crucible, and I played Danforth. And it's funny, I saw a school friend yesterday who was there with me at the time. She was in the walls. Hey, that's me. I didn't know how to learn lines, so I literally didn't know the lines. So there was this guy, Simon White, what's up Simon, still around. There's this guy who did know his lines and mine. On stage, in the production, I had to go, what do you think? And he'd go, yeah. It was so bad.
So not too different to how things travel now?
That's pretty much the same. I mean, that's my professional caliber. That's what I do now. So I went to Guildford and graduated, and again, the first few years were kind of tough, kind of like rocky, lots of fringe, I left with no agent, no work, and then clawed my career from the dust. I tell the story all the time. If you know me long enough, you'll be like, let me tell you about the time I came up as an actor.
What was it like going through the so coming out of training and the world was your oyster, and because a lot of people I've spoken to, they've said that the training is brilliant. It really teaches you, gives you a lot of grounding. But when you're then released into the wild world, it can sort of go one of two ways.
Yeah, I definitely went the way of repair. Like mine didn't. I didn't like explode out onto the scene. But what I did do was learn stacks. So, for example, you can't perform to a more rigorous audience than children, because they don't care about social norms. They're not going to clap if they don't like it. They'll lose attention if it's not interesting. So telling a story, especially if it's a very simple story, you don't have depth to hide behind. If you do an excellently written play, you can be a pretty shit actor. And can I swear?
Yeah, why not?
Excellent. Yeah, you'd be a pretty bad actor.
Or a pretty shit one.
Yeah, great, good. You just have to tell the story really truthfully, and that's never left me.
What is the process that you sort of take once you get that script and you're about to launch into rehearsals? What sort of processes do you sort of take?
So over the years, there have been lots of different techniques I've come across, and practitioners that I've been introduced to. But ultimately, the three questions are: what's true, and what's true. End of. So at the end of the day, it's how is what's set out going to be delivered in the most truthful, and not necessarily honest, but truthful form. So if it's stylized or if it's whatever, that there has to be an adaptability to make anything work. But ultimately, the rigor is about why the person is doing and saying what they're doing and saying, and how is it true? In what way is it true? In what way is it true? What's true is the beginning. And then if I'm on stage, I'm very rigorous about text, because plays, I believe, in my opinion, plays are heard, and then TV is seen. TV films, you go and it's more visual. It's still visual on stage, of course, but they're heard. So it's about how these expressions gather together to give you the play, usually. Although there's that play that where nobody speaks at all, it's like got no words in it at all. It was on here, the play without words.
Play without words?
Yeah.
Apt.
It's pretty good.
And do you get to see a lot? Because I know that outside acting, you've got a lot of hats that you wear as well. Talk us through some of the other things outside of acting that you also work on.
So I'm on the board at currently, they might sack me, I'm on the board at the Gate Theatre, and that is an incredible space, because they call themselves they are to theatre the equivalent of a teaching theatre,
Yeah.
a teaching hospital, sorry. So they're sort of like a teaching theatre. And so the practitioners that have come out of there are incredible. And the work that they do is incredible. It's a tiny, tiny space, loads and loads of obstacles to what you would think would make great work, and yet they do make really great work. And they punch way above their weight. So just seeing how the executive director, the artistic director, make decisions that keep that afloat has been really fascinating and humbling.
Sure.
And also, last summer I was made an associate here, and everyone goes, "What's an associate?" And I'm like, "I don't really know." They usually, before, they've been associate directors, so they're people who are literally theatre directors who are then asked to contribute to some of the thinking that runs this place, which is this is an immense organisation.
Yeah, sure.
It's the National Theatre of Great Britain. It is as pompous as it sounds, and as beautiful and as immense as that sounds. And again, it's a very humbling experience of all these really, really talented, formidably intelligent, and passionate artistic souls sitting around the table discussing scripts, or will be presented to by different departments within the building about what they're doing, and if we can help, if we can contribute to some of that thinking. I keep using the word humbling because, as I said earlier, as an actor, you're not often consulted about decisions at that level. And I feel very honoured and very excited, but I also feel a bit like an interloper and a fraud. I feel like
because you go back to the days when you were a kid and you could remember your lines, and then next thing, suddenly on the board.
The horror of the National Theatre, yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for someone to drag me away on this.
I'm waiting for someone to drag me away. This interview's been a damn shambles.
You're also working on a couple of different campaigns as well, or you back a couple of different campaigns.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tell us about one of the ones that you work with at the moment.
Act for Change. Is that even the right way out? Yeah,
Act for Change, it's called.
It's a diversity campaign. So basically, I don't know how to encapsulate it simply, but diversity in the UK is a really exciting topic. Everyone's been really into it. I have been living with it my life. There's something about just being part of society, just being part of the world that sometimes people treat difference differently. They treat difference badly. They treat difference, they undermine it, and it's not a very clever way of doing things. So what we do in Act for Change, what we do as an organisation, as a campaign, is just try and empower, try and enhance the thinking and practice that happens around diversity in the live and recorded arts in the UK.
Yeah.
So what we try and do is we meet up with organisations, we talk to them, we interrogate some of their procedures, and we say, look, have you tried this, have you tried that? Or it's as simple as releasing a video campaign, just to spotlight some of the way that some practitioners, some artists, some makers are feeling about how their place is in the industry, and it just helps everyone to move forward from that. And I think the wider social importance, to get a bit more serious about things, the wider social importance is that difference, genuinely difference, despite the way this is going to sound, difference is normal. You're supposed to have variety. You're supposed to have, in maths they call it stochasticity. There's a little area of randomness and chaos and otherness in every single model that actually, when you're modelling real life things, that actually you have to factor in order to make it work. And that is part of it. Like, we all know that, we're supposed to tolerate differences, but actually people tolerate differences within quite a narrow band. We'll tolerate lots of different, I don't know, white people with able bodies, but we won't tolerate anything outside of that, And actually, if you expand them, they expand it. They go, we'll tolerate BAME and white people, but no, still no disabled. And then, okay, well, we'll tolerate deaf and disabled, but we can't tolerate, these stages and so on. And it's actually about letting that spread into all parts of working thinking. Is the understanding that difference is a really key part to normality, quote unquote. Yeah.
It's a brilliant cause. I have had a big look at it, and I think it's amazing. And I think it's definitely something that we need to embrace for everyone involved, isn't it? Not only within the theatre industry, but with any other industry out there.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do a very quick rapid fire question segment.
Okay.
But before we do that, we're going to set it up because I know that you're quite a fit man. and you take fitness quite seriously. You're one of the fittest people within this space at the moment.
In my chair.
Within this area.
The fittest person wearing my shoes. Out of anyone wearing my shoes.
So we're going to have an arm wrestle, and I'm going to ask you questions while we're having an arm wrestle.
Okay,
and we're
good.
going to see who wins.
Okay, let's wrap that up.
Let's go back to it. Right, so this is it, Cobbs.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions,
Yeah.
and depending on whoever wins this, that's when we stop, yeah?
Okay.
So these are quick questions, right?
Oh my god.
What's your favourite book?
I don't have one.
What's your favourite TV show?
Breaking Bad.
What's the worst item of clothing you've ever had to wear for a show?
Oh, good heavens, a leaf dress. A tunic shaped like a leaf.
Oh, what's your best ever holiday destination?
Bermuda.
What's your favourite dance move?
I'm a really good dancer.
Are you really?
Yeah. Caterpillar.
Oh, Caterpillar. Mine's a robot.
He's literally toying with me. He's
And what's your favourite food?
Red, which is a Ghanaian dish, which is beans and some plantain. He's toying with me.
And would you prefer to go for a DVD or cinemas?
Cinemas.
And how often do you work out on your biceps?
I don't work out on my biceps.
Oh man, you got me. You got me.
He's so playing with me.
I toyed with him
he
like
was like just moving me back and forth.
I was just, I'm like, you're like a little mouse on a string, and I had you, but then I lulled you into a false sense of security, and then I let you take me down. Because that's the kind of guy I am. I sacrifice.
Dragged. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. Look at these guns.
Look at that. That's got massive.
He just played with me. He just played with me.
And massive thank you for coming on.
These are 15 centimetres.
They are. They're 15 centimetres in
My neck
diameter.
is 60. He just played with me.
I need to go have a quick lie down.
Can I lie with you? That's so strong.
Why not? You did say you were thirstier here at the nest. Sometimes that's how you go get a job.
Get it where you fit it.
Exactly.
Nice
Brilliant.
one.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so
mate.
much for asking. That was
It's been a
such
pleasure.
fun.
Brilliant.
And now we hear from an agent.
My name is Hugo Harrison, and I work with Williamson & Holmes, the talent agent. Within Williamson & Holmes, I'm one of the 6 talent agents. So there's 5 ladies and me, and we all cover everything from musical theater, TV, film, occasional voiceovers, and we cover all background, basically. Well, I started off in musical theater, so I was a performer most of my adult life in musicals, and then decided sort of 3 years ago to transition into the agent side of things. Did some training with the company, and now I'm a full-time agent representing my own client list. Yeah. So, most actors are on what's called Spotlight, which is a forum, a database, which represents every actor and their product, so themselves. So if you imagine like a Facebook feed, trails along, and you're submitting people that are right for certain parts. So occasionally you see a part and you're like, yes, absolutely, that's the part for that client. But other times you have to take chances and sort of say, well, I can imagine them playing that, or you adapt to whatever they are and what they can do. So it's pretty challenging, but it's also super artistically rewarding because you are working with your client to get jobs, and that can be super exciting because you never know what's going to happen in your day. I think probably day to day the challenges are seeing what's out there and making sure that both you and the client are on the same page of what work is out there, what work we should be going for, and just having a partnership, really. I think that's what's important when you are working with any actor. Since I was in that field before, I know what it's like, I know how competitive it is. So it's really having sort of a balance between real life and your acting life. And sometimes I know that can be a real challenge to keep plates spinning on both sides. I think probably briefs are one of the things that are the most hilarious and random that you can have. We've had a few things come in for very specific random talents. So, for example, whistling. I assumed everyone could whistle. You'd be surprised. Not everybody can whistle. So there's different moments where you kind of go, all right, well, I need somebody who can hula hoop, or somebody who can. So you really get the most obscure stuff, and actually sometimes that's what gets people jobs. The more random the skill, the more successful most of the time. I think the main thing when you're looking for an agent, and indeed when agents are looking for clients, is not just a skill set, but also just a partnership and being on the level playing field and knowing sort of what each other are looking for. So it's definitely a partnership. It's a mutual sort of understanding of what to get out of there. But I think probably being the best version of yourself. If you're a new actor wanting to get into it, it's not trying to be anything but who you are, because what's great is that you're the only version of yourself. Nobody else is trying to be you. You're only trying to be you. And actually that's the most wonderful thing you can bring into an audition room, is quintessentially what you are. So if you have an actor or a casting director that, you know, wants to go in and be somebody, you can't do that. So you have to just go in, be yourself, be the best version of yourself, bring everything that comes with that, and hopefully that'll stick. So just be honest, really. I think the main thing when you are, you know, considering going into this side of the industry is being open to your fellow actors. So if you are coming from an acting background, it's putting yourself in the actor's shoes and knowing that everybody wants to work, everyone wants to be the best version of themselves. And the transition, I think, for me was great because the company was, you know, already up and running, and it was, you know, a very successful one, and so I was able to kind of slot into another bit of it. But I think probably as long as you are passionate about the job, then it's okay. You know, you can do it quite smoothly. It's just finding the right team of people. It just so happens we all get along like a house on fire, so that's good. So yeah.
Stagey test! Finish the lyric!
Now life is free and easy, much more A, light and breezy, B, philosophy, or C, cheap and sleazy. Answer please.
My new philosophy. It's my new philosophy. Life is free and breezy.
You are wrong!
No!
The answer, of course, was B, philosophy.
I did! I knew I had the right song. My new philosophy.
That doesn't count for anything.
Bye everybody. This is my jazz hands goodbye. Bye!
Would you please welcome to the stage TIffany Graves. Look at that rapturous applause.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
That is
Thank
all for you.
Oh.
Yeah, I know it's not really. I mean, it's silence. Let's not kid ourselves. Now, how have you been? What have you been up to? Any trouble?
I'm always in trouble. What have I been up to? I have been doing a lot of concerts and gigs. I've been using the voce an awful lot. I was rehearsing this morning for a gig that I'm doing actually tomorrow night at Woburn Abbey. And I've been doing cabaret, an awful lot of cabaret. I was away for most of last year doing The Producers and Kiss Me Kate with Opera North. Have you ever worked with an opera company?
Not with an opera company myself, no. There's been a lot of people I've not worked with.
Oh.
And opera companies
world.
are most of them, yeah.
It really is an eye-opener to
really?
the difference from musical theatre.
What was the main difference that you found out of both of them?
The main difference is the luxury of time, because we had, I think it was 9 weeks rehearsal, and then we had a 2-week technical rehearsal, and then we had about 5 dress rehearsals, and then we were into performance. So in musical theatre terms, that is 3.5 jobs.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was incredible, and we had 48 people in the orchestra. I think we had something like 24 violins, which is unheard of. The sound was epic. There must have been about 50 people on stage. It was just the grand scale of everything. It was huge. The voices were huge. The characters were huge.
It's a massive experience, isn't it?
It was, yeah.
So, I mean, talk us, for some of the people out there that perhaps have not had the pleasure of coming across you before, a bit of background about yourself. Whereabouts did you train?
I trained at the Arts Educational School, which was called the Arts Educational School then. I think it's called Tring Park something or other now. It's changed names, but it's still the same building, same place. And I was there from 9 till 18, wow. Which is actually quite a long time. And I left at 18 and went, right, that's it. I've got all my qualifications. I'm just going to go out there and get a job, which thankfully I did. And my first job was with Walt Disney. I was the female vocalist for, before the films back in the day, they used to have a 20-minute pre-show. And I sang Beauty and the Beast, and a lot of the other people were characters. Sadly, I couldn't be a character because, as you can see from my profile, I'm not very Disney princessy. I could be a great Cruella de Vil,
you never know.
but obviously not a little sort of button-nosed princess. So I sang that and When You Wish Upon a Star and all these lovely songs, and then we transferred it over to Paris, and we were in the equivalent of Leicester Square over in Paris, and that was my first gig.
And how did you find spending most of your time, but obviously over here in the UK, and then your first gig is going over to Paris? I mean, what sort of transition was that like?
Well, it was great fun because it was a massive eye-opener for me anyway to be in a company, having been. My school went co-ed in the final years, but it was basically an all-girls school.
Yeah.
So to be in this company with these crazy, wacky characters, to be going to nightclubs on the Champs-Élysées after the show at night and just enjoying everything, it was just a massive eye-opener, and I really enjoyed myself.
Talk us through some of your highlights of your career. I mean, you've done a whole bunch of different shows.
Okay, highlights of my career would have to be... first time I was leading lady in the West End, that's pretty major. I'd been in the ensemble of Chicago, and I left the show, went away and did other shows, and then came back again when I was invited to be playing Velma Kelly.
Brilliant.
I had, it was the most incredible thing ever because I'd auditioned for the tour in the summer, and it had been out of my friend Lisa Donmile and myself. And both of us had known each other for years and years, and we'd sort of phone going, look, if you hear first, let me know, and vice versa, we'll just put each other out of our misery. And she got the call to say she was Velma. I was devastated. I was like, oh, congratulations, I'm really happy for you. That's just amazing. And then sort of 4 weeks later, I got the call to say, actually, we want you to do it in the West End. So that was brilliant. The first time sort of coming up for the beginning of all that jazz, having been in the ensemble and then being having the spotlight on me, and a show that I loved so much because it was my first West End show. Yeah. That was incredible. That was magical. And I went on to do. There was a performance we did on Strictly Come Dancing. I was asked to play Velma for that, and I was part of the show when it was the 5th anniversary when the film came out. Yes. So that was with Richard Gere and Renée Zellweger and all those characters. So that's a massive moment in my career. And on a completely different scale, singing, being Killer Queen in We Will Rock You with old chestnut, in a stadium in Copenhagen with 5,000 people watching, and Brian May would always come on when we moved around different venues. He would, as you do,
when he had nothing better to do,
strum his guitar to Bohemian Rhapsody. And it was a Killer Queen solo in the middle of that, and walked out to the centre of the stage, 5,000 people watching, slung my arm around Brian May's neck whilst he's playing, and sang a couple of notes. So that was up there. What else?
And you didn't put him off at all or anything? He wasn't sort of like...
He wasn't thrown
by it?
I think he's done it quite a few times now, that song, so...
I mean, that's probably why he does it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably why that's why I'd do it. I'm going to go out tonight and I'm going to have a lovely lady put their arm around me. That's just the way I roll. But you've also done Cats as well, and I'm always intrigued with Cats because Cats is a beautiful show. What's one of your most favourite cat moves?
My most favourite cat move?
Cat dance move.
Well...
If you're ever at a nightclub, out in Soho, and you want to bust out some
Jellicle Ball or anything like that? What do you go to?
That would have to be going. Well, look at me. I'm already I'm on the edge of my seat, ready to go. Ready to go into judders, which is basically shaking and you know, your bottom before pouncing. It's right at the end of the ball, so you're absolutely exhausted, and it's that moment where you go, come on, yes, we can do this. Cats is a funny one though. When I left the show, I felt incredibly stagey, that I couldn't actually pirouette without my tail.
Oh.
Because my balance was just thrown off.
Did you have to take it around to other auditions?
Well, I thought of that, and then I thought, no, that's going a step too far. I've seen a lot of people wearing their leg warmers in auditions, basically wearing their CV of various different shows. Look, I've been in Cats. But no, I didn't do that. I just learned how to pirouette again.
No, fair play. Do you have any advice for anyone out there? Anyone who's wanting to get into performing or is in performing at the moment and looking for an extra edge? Any sort of advice that you give them?
Any advice I would give? I would say it's keeping the balance between being very passionate and serious about what you do, and also having a sense of humour to know that going into an audition and perhaps mucking up a couple of lines or not singing the right words, it's not the be-all and end-all. It's entertainment. They want to see you playing a character rather than being absolutely note perfect the first time you see you. And it's live theatre. It's a performance. So every single time's going to be different. And just enjoy it, really. I know that's I'm sure everybody says that.
No. I remember when I was younger, and I would put so much pressure on myself to try and be absolutely perfect as soon as you walk in through the door, and you just can't do that all the time.
And if you try to be perfect all the time, you're not giving yourself any leeway whatsoever to find new ways of playing a role. I mean, every audience is different, so if you go with it and trust yourself to go with it, you may find that if you say a line differently one night, it has a different reaction, which may make you think about the line differently, which will give you a new lease of life when you've been doing the show for 3 months or something. Definitely. So it's just having the trust in yourself to have fun with it.
Sure, brilliant piece of advice. Now, before we get into this next segment, you've got a couple of different things coming up in the near future. I know that you're doing a lot of cabaret work, is that right?
I am. I've just been at the Crazy Cox, which sounds so rude,
Who hasn't been at the Crazy Cox?
Everyone's been at the Crazy Cox.
Yeah.
So yes, I've just been at the Crazy Cox, which was a sellout performance, which sounds amazing, but there are only about 80 seats in there.
But
so
you know,
it's not
that's
really
80
something
people.
to write. This is true. 80 people. Well, 2 nights, so 160 people came to hear me sing. So I'm very touched.
Fantastic.
So I was doing that, and I've got lots of concert work coming up in lots of different venues, which is great because it means that I'm learning so much music at the moment. It's a case of learn 9 songs, get them in the data banks, then get rid of those. Learn the next batch. I really should do an album because the amount of music I have learned is quite incredible over the last 6 months, and it would be quite nice to learn it and actually hear it more than 2 times after the event.
Now, if anyone wants to check out anything that you possibly got coming up, how would you do so?
You can follow me at TIffany Graves 4 on Twitter, or you can go to my website, which is www.tiffanysings.com.
Do you have to do that every time you say it?
Yeah, www.tiffanysings.com.
Brilliant.
There you go.
That is in the bank. Now, we're going to do this thing. Now, what we're going to do is you've played the game Chubby Bunny before, have you not?
I have.
Okay, now I know you're looking forward to this.
Chubby Bunny time!
Favourite meal in a restaurant?
Steak, porterhouse, medium rare, cream spinach, bottle of Malbec wine.
Beach or country?
Beach in the sun, country in the winter. I'm gonna say the because it's fun.
What's the funniest face you can pull? Can you moonwalk?
No, I can't.
What's your most embarrassing moment?
This now!
And lastly, what is your go-to audition song when you go for an audition?
Always true to you in my fashion.
Brilliant!
Winner, chicken dinner.
This is a very inspiring CD. I hope you enjoy it. It's blues all rise. Now, I'm going to pass this on to you. That's for participating in the marshmallow quickfire selection. I want you to have that.
treasure this.
Yeah. Big thank you for coming onto the show. I hope you had a bit of fun. An absolute pleasure. And everyone give TIffany Graves a round of applause back at home, obviously.
Thank you!
There they are.
Stagey challenge.
Oh no, danger.
Students battle.
Pow, ouch. Boom, boom, wee. Pop, lip, shit,
Let the challenge begin. Kick the bunny ball challenge.
So the kick the bunny ball challenge sounds easy. Just kick the bunny ball, but it's not. 2 competitors will be blindfolded, they'll be spun round, and they'll be placed on a ball, the bunny ball. They'll spin round it 5 times, take 5 spaces back, and then attempt to kick the ball within 20 seconds. The one who does it, waits.
Students ready.
This is the bunny ball. Today's first contestant is,
Abby,
and she's representing
Central School of Speech and Drama.
Yes. How are you feeling about kicking the bunny ball?
I'm excited. I'm ready for this one.
Yeah? Gonna take your anger out on that bunny ball?
Absolutely.
Our next contestant
Is
Jack,
Jack. Where are you from, Jack?
East 15.
He's 15. Wow. And have you got much experience kicking bunny balls?
Not so much bunny balls, but football now and then. What do you think I've done? No.
First player ready. It's Abby.
You might think, yeah, I'm good at football, but are you good at bunny ball? That's a whole different story. You've got the blindfold covering her entire face, actually, at the moment. But that's fine. And she's running. She's gone twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And she's dizzy and she's stepping back. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. And she's getting ready to run and kick that bunny ball. Or not. Apparently running around the bunny ball also makes you hysterical. Keep running. Nope, not a chance. Oh, close. And she is all over the place. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She didn't kick that bunny ball, but good effort, Abby.
Second player ready. It's Jack.
And the first boy to try out the kick the bunny ball challenge. And he's going down to the ball and getting ready to run. 1, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps back, and off he goes. Is he gonna kick it? No! He did.
Let's look at that again.
He did fall on his bottom. Straight down. Wow, legless. I'd like to see him after a few too many gin and tonics. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And he did kick it. Congratulations. Yeah.
Time to crown the champion!
Wow, what a challenge, and what agility is needed for kicking the bunny ball. We saw some amazing things there, but we can only have one winner, and today's winner is, it's Jack. How do you feel, Jack?
I feel great. I feel really, really, really good. Thank you.
How's the bum after falling?
A little bit sore, but worth it in the end, so all good.
Worth it, you see? Wow, okay, and commiserations, Abby.
I'm very disappointed in myself, actually. Thought I could do better than that.
Will you be training at home so that next time if you ever have to do this, you'll be better?
Yeah, I've got a nice big garden, so I need to go and get myself a bunny ball.
Wow. Well, what prizes do we have today?
Marshmallows and a lemon segment.
So, take your prizes, guys. Congratulations, here's your marshmallow. Well done, Jack. Deserved. Great. Get yourself some deep heat, guys. Deep heat. Ooh. Alright, okay. Join us next time for another challenge.
Well, we had some fun, didn't we? And that was another episode of Stagey Live. A massive thank you for tuning in and getting this far. A big thank you for everyone who took part, all the guests. And we look forward to having you back next time. So stay tuned, make sure you follow @Stagey Live, and we'll see you around the corner.